Hey, it's Alt, and welcome back to Warcraft Weekly, the show that has zero drama to share this week.
So tune in next time for the latest and greatest clusterfucks in the World of Warcraft.
But otherwise, hit the like button, subscribe for the rationalization, catch me live on Twitch for a chat, and let's talk BlizzCon. 5 weeks from this recording, you and I will be talking smack about the latest and greatest coming from Blizzard and the World of Warcraft team. Now, you might not be realizing it, you might not be falling for it, but the wheels are starting to turn. The momentum and the hype is starting to build. And here's what we got at the moment. This week, we finally got a teeny tiny preview of what's to come during BlizzCon, and we're going to talk more about those hints in just a bit. A last-minute round of tickets were released in a one-day sale, and it's no secret that Chris Metzen returned to the company, but with him recently being given the title of Executive Creative Director for Warcraft, it leaves a little doubt that his stage presence is going to be used to hype up what is next. Now, no offense to the showmanship of the other developers and staff who've been showing us more of who it is that's been working on World of Warcraft. I do appreciate seeing more than 5 different people these days, but Metzen has a knack for building up the energy in a room with like nothing but him. It has been a while though, so let's see if he still got it this many years later. I've been repeating this over and over again, and maybe it's gotten through, I'm just going to say it again, but the planets are lined up for what should be a very special BlizzCon. It's the first one since 2019, like some people have gone through all of college in that time. The PS5 had just come out that year, and they're almost 100% likely to announce World of Warcraft's 10th expansion to be released on its 20th anniversary while celebrating 30 years of Warcraft, 35 years of Blizzard. That's a long road, and of course not without flaws and bumps and people coming on and off. We can look around us and celebrate generations of Blizzard gamers. Of course, I'm prepared for disappointment, but I'm also confident that Blizzard is reaching deep to try and put on the biggest BlizzCon ever. Now let's take a look at this screenshot the team put out in their BlizzCon update, and we'll cherry pick a few items. There's a bit of emphasis on playtesting upcoming Dragonflight and classic content, which has a couple of folks buzzing. It is interesting that they're talking about Dragonflight and the 10.2 logo is on display. Could it be that BlizzCon won't have the new expansion available for playtesting? Is it possible that a new expansion won't be announced at all? Now, confidence says that there is going to be an announcement, while desperation says, dude, there better be an announcement. Finally, we have a more detailed map which highlights Warcraft as a franchise completely taking over Hall D. But when we stop for a moment, I gotta wonder to myself, well, if the map is an actual measurement of how these sections are divided, how big is this so-called WoW demo station going to be? Like, is this going to be enough room to accommodate for what I hope? The boring truth to reveal is that in past BlizzCons, we have had playtests that showed off the current patch. I figure that's mostly for non-WoW players who want to check out the game since it's there, but maybe they don't want to get in on the new hotness. And that brings up a pretty relevant point. We've learned indirectly that Dragonflight hasn't sold as well as Shadowlands by comparison, but we can only speculate so much as to how many fewer players hopped on the bandwagon or banned Dragon. What better place to reach out and soft sell to potential players than a convention full of people like me, all bright-eyed and optimistic and devastatingly handsome? I'd be out of character if I didn't mention this, but the next week or two is also going to determine whether patch 10.2 is going to go live before or after BlizzCon. Unless we find out now and it doesn't make it into this recording, whoops. I'm sticking to my old prediction of the patch dropping after BlizzCon because it's safe, it's comfortable, but I'm not going to close the door on an October 24th release either. It's closer to what the Dragonflight release timeframe has been. A schedule like this fits like a glove, but by that I also mean it's pretty tight. Ultimately, though, it's only a 2-week difference. After returning to this subject of speculation time and time again, it's not what some folks would consider to be like a significant enough time difference one way or another, and I agree. The only thing that I see that's truly at stake is the clout of who guessed right. Watch out, profit coming through. So, to summarize what to make of these little hints, there's gonna be a lot of different versions of World of Warcraft to check out depending on what's announced, all for very intentional reasons. Oh, and there's a mount. It's an elemental looking kind of thing, and it has the style of the Shaman class mount, or the drop from Jaina, or the Shadowlands Keystone Master. Like, I have a few low stakes guesses, like this is probably part of a Blizzcon digital bundle that everyone can buy and that attendees are going to get with their ticket. It doesn't give any obvious hints that link to the new expansion either, but I'm sure once we know, we're going to be like, oh, of course that makes sense, how could you not see that earlier? So how are you feeling about the hype right now? Like, we're still a month away from BlizzCon, but are you feeling it? Now, I'm getting excited. I have to say it, I have to make that clear because I'm usually like super low energy, but what are your thoughts? There wasn't a lot going on this week for news. Like, I already covered Metzen's new role a little bit early in the week, and we're not going to fully understand the impact of his return until at least BlizzCon. But I do want to take some time to share thoughts with you, and also to invite you to share your own. A bit over a year ago, I and many others were just carrying on over and over again about how Shadowlands was like way too cosmic, it was way too abstract, it was too detached from what we feel is the essence of Warcraft. Like, we're so far away from good old orcs versus humans. And I said that we need to go back to Azeroth and have, you know, kind of a more mellow expansion, just kind of let things rest for a little bit, and here we are. I don't regret being part of that discourse, and hey, overall, I am really enjoying Dragonflight, from the systems approach to like the theme. Like, I bet we wouldn't have had dragon riding if not for Dragonflight, and I love it. But I also feel like the theme missed the mark. What is this so-called essence of Warcraft to me? Because it's different things for different people. So as a response to Dragonflight, as we get closer to this story's conclusions, here's the direction that I would like the game to go, and I'm going to use very broad strokes here. I just want to get your gears turning. I want to see if I can inspire some ideas that I'd like you to share if something does come to mind. So here we go. I want a story and plot that feels more personal. Battle for Azeroth, that felt personal because of the faction war. It felt like there were stakes. There was, faction pride. There were leaders who I've connected with over the years. Wrath of the Lich King, that also felt personal with Arthas. I roleplayed his character through the RTS. I went on a ride through his journey, and Wrath of the Lich King kind of led us to that conclusion. By contrast, Shadowlands felt way less personal. There were all these new races in the Covenants, we had these very alien environments, and the connecting threads, well, those came from like dead characters, which, tugged at the nostalgia, but for numerous reasons, for me, it didn't really hit home. Dragonflight is also less personal. Now, there are a handful of characters to connect with the Aspects and Chromie, but it felt like the champion entering the dragon's realm. It almost feels as if we haven't returned to Azeroth proper. What I would want is a sense of familiarity. Now, I'm not looking for a return to the faction war or conflict, but more like opportunities to forward the story of the Horde and Alliance. Like, what have they been up to since the end of the Fourth War, the events of Shadowlands, and the time skip afterwards? How have they been recovering? What challenges do they face? And the expected payoff is something that I can walk away from and feel a bit of faction pride. And if not faction pride, how are each of the races or allied races doing? Now, I don't think I should need to play as that race to find out. Like, I don't want a splintered experience like Legion that forces me to play multiple characters, but I'd like to find out what's going on. And maybe if I did happen to play as that particular race, there'd be like some cool bonus flavor to it. I think that's what a lot of players are silently saying when they're asking for a world revamp. Like, some of them would go as far as to say, nah, we don't even need a new continent. After our demon slaying and cosmic fights, I want to see how things are at home, and the story just hasn't quite taken us home, just a few selections here and there. This one's one of the newer thoughts that I've had. I'm going to be elaborating on this for a while, but I want to feel like a badass again. Dragonflight is doing a lot of great things, but this wasn't quite one of them. I'm not sure what a good solve is for this one, at least not at the moment, because borrowed power systems, it does deliver, or it did deliver on that badass feeling. The problem was that the road towards that was like super grindy, and losing borrowed power, that doesn't feel great at all. But what these systems did do was make our character feel a bit more central to the story. Now, thanks to Dragonflight, we can better contrast the difference between then and now. I think what I'm leading to is that I guess I want my actions or presence to have a more consequential and lasting impact beyond forwarding the plot and killing the boss that's in the way of getting these other characters to forward the story. So, for example, I would want to see more impactful zone perks to work towards that lets my main and then my alts take on elites and rares on their own because people are going to help me out or I get some cool buffs or something. If I do a dungeon or a raid enough times, I want to be able to work towards unlocking special perks that let me easily repair or get basic buffs or faster run speed outside of combat, but not Mythic Plus, right? So I guess local buffs that feel cool would be cool, and I can individually work towards and unlock them, and they would feel evergreen to that experience. They'd be account wide, so something cool that goes in that kind of direction. And I've been saying this, I want to expand on customization well beyond what we have now. I mean, now granted, we're getting like one new activity to the next, trying to be entertained. We're being buried under rewards that feel fun and easy to get, from like, the usual drops to the trading post to crafting and more, but the level of options have stayed the same for almost 20 years. And by that I mean our character appearance, our title, the pet that's next to us, the mounts that we ride, and for the most part, that's about it. Set aside all the counter arguments because they're not even great ones anyway, but WoW needs new kinds of customization and of course updates on what's kind of been forgotten, like glyphs to customize spell effects. And don't come at me with that whole PvP argument. They could just disable that sort of stuff when you're in an instance PvP situation or whatever. We could have new kinds of emotes and animations. Like, that would be a great distraction. Like, wouldn't it be cool to have an actual rolling on the floor laughing sort of animation, or a new sort of death rattle that you can customize, or, of course, dances and more? And I can't hold this one back any longer. I've been doing it on purpose. It says a lot when we have enough pets and mounts and achievements to fill up like a dozen garrisons. World of Warcraft needs a personal space, like player or guild housing, that we can call ours. Now, I know a lot of folks are against it, but I'm willing to bet that if the WoW team created this, some sort of opportunity to have a trophy wall of sorts that we can customize with whatever we want, that would turn heads. World of Warcraft needs an outlet for the achievement system because it's simply not satisfying enough to just get another achievement for having the next 100 mounts. I don't think it'd be enough if the WoW team did stay caught up with all of those mount milestones, because we shouldn't be satisfied with just this. Achievement score? It's not enough. Ranking really high on data for Azeroth? It's not enough. A really long list of everything being stuck in the confines of a menu and my immediate character? It's not enough. I want to be able to show it off. Not even so much like to others, it'd be nice, but to be able to build something and then step back and then take a look at what I've built up and created, that's cool. And screw that "oh no, cities would be deserted" argument, because it was nonsense then and it still is now. Where I decide to AFK or spend my time is my business, as long as I'm logged in, right? And despite adding all of these cool and pretty things to farm for and new ways to do it in Dragonflight, it is still just collecting. It's the same thing, it's just dressed a little differently. Without a new outlet for these collections, I imagine it's going to wear people down and these efforts are going to stop mattering. But the rant's over, and that's the show. Next week, expect some initial feedback on the flow of 10.2's outdoor content, and my early impressions are they're actually pretty good. I'm noticing some really thoughtful design that considers folks who might be soloing this multi-stage sort of event, so stay tuned for that coverage and more. Let's give a big thanks to our friends over on Twitch and Patreon. Thanks again, Deborah, for being you, and thank you, viewer, for making it to the end. It's a plus for the algorithm. Now, all you gotta do is hit that like button, subscribe for more, and catch me live over on Twitch, because it's always great to see folks say hi and, maybe we can have a chat. We'll see you next week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.